The Andy Poland Show.
We got to go after this with everything we got, figuring they're going to come with everything they got.
I'll start off by saying I'm bored, I'm broke, and I'm back.
The Andy Poland Show on ESPN 630 starts right now.
So we went from, he could have gone back into the game, to he's on track to start against the Giants, to, had a little setback, keep him out for the Giants. We'll see about the last three. To, well, he still hasn't been cleared for contact, so we're going to sit him out for the rest of the season. I hate the comparisons to RG3. I really do. But you may remember the 2013 season when Mike Shanahan said, we want Robert to have an off season. We don't want him rehabbing an injury, so we're going to play it safe and shut him down with 3 games to go. We're not creeping into RG3 territory, but there's a lot of talk coming out of both sides of people's mouths, and it's worth investigating what exactly is going on here. Look, it's not Dan Quinn's job to be 100% transparent. Mike Shanahan, as he said, when he shut down RG3 in 2013, he said, look, I'm trying to be honest with you, and that's not something I normally do. It was funny, but it was true. And as I look back on it, it was really, in my mind, more of a middle finger to Dan Snyder on his way out the door. The team at that point was 3-10. They only played 16 games in those days. And Shanahan knew he was going to be fired and wanted to be fired because the owner had undercut him. He had gotten together with RG3, and they were deciding when he was going to play and when he wasn't going to play. And finally, Shanahan said, we're going to shut him down. We're going to move him to third-string quarterback. And we're going to go the rest of the way with Kirk Cousins, which he knew would drive Griffin crazy because from the moment they drafted Cousins in the 4th round after taking RG3 in the 1st round in 2012, he was insecure. And he was so insecure that Mike Shanahan had to name Griffin the starting quarterback the first day of rookie minicamp. Remember, Dan Quinn a year and a half ago said that Daniels was going to have to win the job. It wasn't going to be given to him, and it wasn't until right before the last exhibition game that he said he's going to be the starting quarterback. Not a surprise, but that's the way he handled it, and he was tremendous last year, as Griffin was in his first year. And now we got injuries to talk about, and fortunately. And I think this went into the decision to shut him down. Fortunately, there's going to be no surgery to rehab from in the offseason. He did have 4 different injuries, but all of them look like they'll be able to heal without surgery. There may be something minor in the offseason, but it's not going to be anything like an ACL or something like that or an Achilles. So that's the good news on that. We'll get into more on that coming up, but let's deal with the Monday night game first, which the Steelers won 28-15 after a very slow start, neither team scoring any points until the Steelers got rolling just before the end of the first half. And Aaron Rodgers, who is kind of indicating this is it, although, he'll waver back and forth as to what is going to happen next year. But when it counts most, he's coming up big. And he came up big last night. The Steelers scored on 4 straight drives. His numbers, 23 of 27. That's 85% passing, 224 yards as the Steelers win the game 28-15 and stay on track to clinch the AFC North. And then he played a role that we're really not used to seeing Aaron Rodgers play, looking out for the little guy. And he talked about, after the game, the cast-off guys who had performed so well. He said there were some cast-offs, if you look at our roster, which makes it really special. And he was laughing as he said this. Kenny Gainwell signed a next-to-nothing contract. Connor Haywood, an afterthought, had a touchdown run. Marquez Valdez-Scantling has been on a couple of teams. Adam Thielen got cut. And Asante Samuel was on the street for a long time, so that says a lot about the character of the guys that they brought in. Also, this was somewhat interesting. As he was talking to Lisa Salters of ESPN after the game, one of his former teammates, Rasul Douglas, who now plays for Miami, hugged it out with him for a few seconds, so you're going to hear that. And that, I guess, indicates the respect that Aaron Rodgers gets in the locker room. All the crazy stuff he's done over the years, where he goes into the cone of silence for a week in darkness, and then he has this cockamamie story about him being immune. It turns out he didn't get vaccinated during COVID, and all the different things that surround him. It's even supposedly married. He wears one of those rubber wedding bands, but nobody's ever seen the wife. There's a lot of weird stuff around him. But last night he looked out for the little guy, and as evidence of his respect for the guys who are not superstars, there was this little hug out with Rasul Douglas as he talked to Lisa Salters about the win.
Aaron, just 4 incompletions in the game. Just what felt good to you tonight?
I thought Art caught a really good game. You know, it was a lot of two-show, especially in the first half. Not a lot of pressure coming in. They brought one corner cat, a couple weak pressures, blitz the back, but it was a lot of shell coverage. You had a dink and dunk, and guys made some plays for us. We kind of got a roll note that last drive of the first half and scored on 4 straight drives.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. That it seemed like a grind in the first half until the end of the second quarter, and then you guys came out of the locker room rolling. Just what started to click?
Well, I mean, nothing in particular. I just think we got the run game going, which helped. And then we had a nice play to Quez, kind of get us going, and then DK made a fucking great play. Hey, brother.
Here's the hug out going on right now, so she's waiting for the two of them to de-embrace.
What does that mean to you, having all these guys just come over showing you all this love?
Well, I played with Rasul. He's one of my favorite teammates. He was huge for us going back to 2021. A great story of a guy who never gave up, after he was counted out and cut, put on practice squads. And we got a lot of guys like that too. We have some guys who are cast off, some guys who, people didn't really want anymore. We had some hired guns as well. But I think we can, after tonight, they won 4 straight games. They had a lot to play for. Hopefully the belief is starting to pick up, because it's tough to play in the cold weather. And if we can take care of business, then we're going to be hosting the game right here.
Yeah, Aaron, you're still on top in the division. 3 games left. This is what you wanted, to be playing meaningful football all the way to the end. So what are you looking forward to most as you head down the stretch here?
Well, it's just that. I mean, that's why I wanted to come back, is to be a part of something special. This is a great organization. We're playing meaningful football games. We're up by a game in the division. A lot left to play for. We got three games starting this weekend in Detroit, and Detroit's got a lot to play for. Great football team, very well coached, great quarterback, skilled players. The defense has been banged up a little bit, but it's a short week for us. We got to get healthy. We got some guys banged up. Who knows where the hell TJ's been all week, but hopefully he's back next week and we got the whole party back together.
And theoretically, Rodgers is a cast-off, right? The 2 disastrous seasons with the Jets. Year 1, plays 4 plays, tears his Achilles. Year 2, they win 5 games, and they tell him to hit the road. And so now he's going for one last run with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Will it end this year or will it end next year? We'll see. He's now 42 years old. So, but, when you throw like you did last night, complete 85% of your passes, and you beat a team that had been hot. Miami won 4 out of 5. That loss eliminates them from the playoffs. But that was impressive. And look at the turnaround that the fans now have on Mike Tomlin. Couple of weeks ago, they're saying fire him. Now they win 2 big games against Baltimore on the road and against Miami, and now the tune has changed. Joe Buck and Troy Aikman talking last night to Scott Van Pelt about it.
Fan bases can be fickle, and it's what have you done for me lately? And I think, they just are tired of not just, kind of pedestrian regular seasons, but they haven't won a playoff game in 8 completed seasons. So it's been a while, and this organization is not used to that. So at some point, the regular season is going to come to a close, and, they're hopeful that they win the AFC North, and then the real stuff begins in the playoffs and the postseason. But I thought this was a really good game on the heels of a really big win at Baltimore. And so even his most ardent critics would have to acknowledge that this is a nice 2-week stretch for the Steelers.
Without question, and they are the leaders of the AFC North. And Troy, on Countdown, we talked about Rodgers, and you mentioned his confidence late in the broadcast. Clearly he's got it. They're maybe not explosive on offense, but they're certainly efficient. How dangerous could Pittsburgh be if the defense is just fractionally better and Rodgers starts cooking with some confidence?
Well, I think they could be real dangerous, and I do. I said it during the broadcast there towards the end. I saw a quarterback today that just had body language and looked different than what I've seen all season long. Big win last week, and as he told us, I think bringing in Adam Thielen and Marquez Valdez-Scantling, I think that kind of stabilized things for him at the wide receiver position, even though, they haven't really been all that active, but it gives him confidence. And I saw that again tonight. He had a big night throwing the football, did a lot of good things. I think when you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, if they are able to win the division and get into the postseason, it'd be interesting to see an Aaron Rodgers with confidence and a Pittsburgh team that's kind of rolling up against a Denver team, with a young quarterback in Bo Nix, or the New England Patriots with Drake May. This guy has playoff experience, 4-time league MVP, and all that he's been able to do, having won a Super Bowl. And Josh Allen is kind of that guy as well, who's a veteran guy in the postseason. I think it would make for a pretty interesting postseason in the AFC.
Yeah, it's a weird deal in Pittsburgh. It's like, we'd like them to get in the playoffs, but if they go out in the first round, we're going to be on Tomlin's butt again. So, and it's the old, what's that old song? You don't know what you got till it's gone. They run Mike Tomlin out of town. The Steelers are a great organization, and they'll get a great coach, I'm sure, and they will back him the way that they backed Mike Tomlin, the way that they backed Bill Cowher when they would come up short in AFC championship games year after year after year. But he is going to be in demand if they let him go. Mike Tomlin will be out of work for 10 seconds. This will be an Andy Reid situation. The Eagles say, okay, you got us close, but we got to move on. He gets to the right situation right away in Kansas City, gets the right quarterback, and the rest is history. All right, let me get to the big news from yesterday. It's one of those things when you hear it, you go, well, okay. But why did it take so long for them to come to this conclusion? Dan Quinn opening his news conference yesterday with the announcement that, in fact, Jayden Daniels will sit out the rest of the season.
We're going to sit him for the final 3 games. And I know your first question likely is, well, DQ, what went into that? And the answer is it was a lot, and part medical and part team. As of today, he still wasn't all the way cleared to play. So like last week, wouldn't have all the results until the end of the week, and then a short week next week with the Christmas game. So we believe this decision allows him to take advantage of the next few weeks in a different play. He wants to practice, and he will practice. He also wants to support Marcus in a way that Marcus has demonstrated and helped him. And so, I thought that was significant. We all know the best way to grow is during the games, but with that, not being the best way for us, there's plenty of ways for him to learn, over the next 3 weeks. And, he's going to learn from this vantage point, too.
Quinn did say that he's not been cleared for contact yet. Could he have been cleared by Wednesday or Thursday? I don't know. But he's going to sit. This was a question that was asked by Scott Abraham of Channel 7 late in the news conference. They went about, 16, 17 minutes yesterday. Took quite a while to get to this. This would have been my immediate follow-up question.
You guys were 10-4 and not 4-10. Would the situation be different? Would he be playing these final games?
Yeah, we're not, so we didn't have that, discussion.
Which tells me that if, in fact, it was a full health issue, Dan Quinn would have said, look, Scott, he's not been cleared for contact. We don't feel safe putting him out there. So this to me sounds like an organizational decision. Not that they fought about it or anything like that, but Dan Quinn is in the business of winning football games. Winning football games keeps him employed. Jayden Daniels is paid to play professional football. He's paid to start games or play in games if he doesn't win the job. And they play only 17 of them during the year. He's played in 7 of them this year. Yes, he's gone out with injuries in the last 4, but his job is to play football. And Dan Quinn's job is to win football games, and his best chance to win football games is with number 5 at quarterback. So I think it's an organizational thing where you've got Adam Peters looking at this and the big picture of, oh, my God, if he's going to be out next year, That decreases my ability to attract certain free agents. Certain guys look at Jayden Daniels and say that's one of the elite quarterbacks in the NFL when he's healthy, and we want to play with him. So that hurts him there. Also, roster construction, how they do it, whether or not they bring back Marcus Mariota. And I think Mariota is the perfect backup quarterback for Jayden Daniels because he understands the whole situation. He's ready to step in when needed and has performed well. The team hasn't won, but it's not necessarily been because of him. Now, he does boneheaded things like that stupid fumble that he had late in the game on Sunday, but this is a big picture decision here. This isn't just based on his health, and I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I would have liked to have seen him play. And Barry Zerluga's got a column about that today, and he agrees with me. He says if he could have returned against the Vikings, the expectation would be that he would play the following week against the Giants. He hasn't now, it's true. Injuries that could worsen overnight. Maybe it swelled up, but the Commanders have been adamant that Daniels didn't dislocate the elbow as he did a month earlier against Seattle. We're talking about when he was chasing down the interceptor in the Minnesota game. And he said there's no structural damage. Moreover, it's his left elbow, not a part of the arm in which he throws. Come on, guys, let him play. But he said the decision to protect the future of the franchise, even as Quinn has preached the value of opportunity, even when the playoffs are out of reach, he said in football and in life you adjust, and this is the best plan for him and the team right now. But, if this were, as Scott Abraham suggests, a season where they're going for the playoffs and looking to get to where they got to last year and maybe even further, I think the decision would be different. Quinn didn't have to address it, and I don't necessarily believe him when he says that we didn't have to have that discussion. Yeah, the discussion would have been irrelevant because they're not chasing the playoffs this year, but it's something that I think that Jayden Daniels needs is more reps. And as Barry points out here, he says, yeah, there's risk here. Patrick Mahomes plays 8 years, then blows out his ACL on Sunday, which could cost him most or part of next season. Micah Parsons went down, same injury, non-contact injury. Tom Brady missed the entire 2008 season. You know about the eeriness of this, too, in that Brady got hurt in the first game of the 2008 season after winning 3 Super Bowls, and he was in his 9th year. Patrick Mahomes is in his 9th year. He's won 3 Super Bowls, and he goes out with an ACL injury. Difference is Brady was ready for the start of the 2009 season. We don't know about Mahomes in the start of the 2026 season. And Barry writes, these things happen. They're terrible, but they happen, and they could happen to Daniels in the 2026 opener or not just as easily as they could happen Saturday against the Eagles or not. Think, too, about who's developing elsewhere. Denver's Bo Nix and Chicago's Caleb Williams have already played more games, regular season and playoffs, and have thrown more passes than Daniels. They were also, as you know, in their same draft class. New England's Drake May will pass him in both categories in the next few weeks. All 3 are likely to be postseason participants. And then we play that game. We play it at the beginning of every year. Oh, if you could redo that 2024 draft, would you take Jayden Daniels at number 2? Well, you can't redo it, and I wouldn't second-guess what they did based on the information that they had at the time and the season that he had in his first year and the season that he may have down the road. And there are quarterbacks who have had a history of injury early in their careers. Hall of Famer, no, Phil Simms, but you look at his early years with the Giants, he lost his job to Scott Bruner. Now, he was a first-round pick. He wasn't the second pick in the draft, but he was a first-round pick by the Giants who booed the pick because he came from Morehead State. Nobody had heard of him, and he had a great career. He was a Super Bowl MVP, and he was the clear leader of the Giants during those glory years under Bill Parcells. And he had a history of injuries early in his career, losing his job to a Delaware quarterback named Scott Bruner, broke his thumb one year, missed a whole bunch of games. So, you can throw out a year like this. And I think you also have to look at the big picture with Jayden Daniels. He played 5 years of college football, and he only missed 2 games. And he made all 20 starts last year, including the playoffs. So I think you kind of throw this out, and before you pull out your hair and go, oh, they should have taken Drake May. Look how good Drake May is. Relax. They got one. They got one here, and this is not RG3. This is not that situation. Whew. Take a breather. All right, coming up, more on the decision to shut down Jayden Daniels, plus the Monday night game, and more as we continue. It's the Andy Pollin Show, ESPN 630. So I got something for you coming up about 20 minutes that I think you'll get a chuckle out of this, especially if you're sweating out higher health insurance premiums, which we're staring down the barrel of as we close out the year. Some very smart thinking on an athlete who was prominently in the news this weekend. We'll get to that. Prominently in the news around here, the shutdown of Jayden Daniels, the different layers of that, and what is being said by Dan Quinn, which somewhat contradicts what he said a couple of weeks ago. We'll get into all of that as we continue on what is a very sad ending to a football season that had so much promise going in. Jayden Daniels, Rookie of the Year, Pro Bowl player, NFC Championship game appearance. Let's see if they can take the next step and get to the Super Bowl. Well, they're a lot further away from that now than they seemed to be at the end of last season when they made that miraculous run to play Philadelphia. I just saw something on Facebook. It was put out by a friend of mine, Terry Cornwell, who grew up in Pittsburgh, big Steeler fan. I'd forgotten about this. You know how I like anniversaries. Today is the 25th anniversary of the last game at Three Rivers Stadium. The Washington Redskins, which they were called then, in the ownership, the second-year ownership of Dan Snyder, the year that they had gone for it, where they brought in Deion Sanders and Bruce Smith and Jeff George and others, that they had won the division the year before, and a weak year in the division. They thought, well, let's spend a little bit of money and go for it. We got some cap room. Let's do it. And it blew up in their face. They started off 6-2. They wound up 8-8, and along the way, with a chance to make the playoffs at 7-6, they fired Norv Turner, and they put in Terry Robisky as the interim coach. He'd been the wide receivers coach, and he was moving up to interim. There had been, I don't know if it never got confirmed to me, but there was a lot of talk that Pepper Rogers, who was not even on the coaching staff, who had come in with the sponsorship of FedEx. He was based in Memphis, worked for FedEx, and started hanging out with Dan Snyder before the game and started telling him things about coaching, and told him to eventually hire Steve Spurrier. Couldn't hire Steve Spurrier. So he fires Norv Turner. He moves up Robisky, thinking that the team is going to respond to the move. They got their butts kicked the week before in Dallas with Ebenezer Ekubon dragging Jeff George around on the turf, and not a single player on the Redskins jumping to George's defense, which tells you a whole lot. And then they play Pittsburgh in the second to last game of the season. They closed at home, and they actually won. They beat Arizona in that game to finish 8-8. But they go to Pittsburgh with still a chance. If I'm not mistaken, they weren't eliminated with that loss in Dallas. They dropped to 7-7. And if they had beaten Pittsburgh, they could have finished 9-7 and actually made the playoffs. I believe that was the case. But they were never in it. They lost the game 24-3. And that was the last game ever played at Three Rivers, what used to be called Heinz Field. I don't know what they call it now, but that's where the game was played last night. And, God, it's hard to believe that was a quarter of a century ago. And that 2000 season, the Fortune 500 Redskins cost a fortune, finished 500, and loss number 8 was on this day 25 years ago in the final game at Three Rivers. And I think they brought back all the legends. You know, the late Franco Harris was there, and Rocky Blyer. I don't know if they got Bradshaw back for that, but I think Chuck Noll was still alive at that point. He may have shown up. It was a big thing, and the Steelers took it out on Washington, and I believe Jeff George played that game as well. And as I recall, that Brad Johnson got the start in the last game where Terry Robisky had enough of Jeff George and said, we're not going to play him. So they made up some phony baloney injury. And he actually returned the next year under Marty Schottenheimer, lasted 2 games. Marty had enough of them, cut him loose after they got shut out 38-0 in Green Bay. All right, last night in Pittsburgh, the Steelers win the game, a game that they really needed to win to get people calmed down about a lot of things, like the chance of fire Tomlin insane. If he were on the open market, he would be in great demand to be a head coach. And they had lost enough that they were on the brink. And looks like they're probably going to win the division. They won in Baltimore last week, and they won again last night over Miami 28-15, putting together some great offense at the end of the first half. They bookended touchdowns at the end of the first half and the beginning of the second half, scored on 4 consecutive drives. And Aaron Rodgers was terrific last night, 23 of 27 for 224 yards. And the defense did its thing against Miami and what had been a hot team. They'd won 4 of 5 coming in. They end their playoff hopes with the win last night, in large part to what the defense did, led by Cam Hayward, who joined Scott Van Pelt after the game.
Know what?
Yeah.
And a rush defense, which we know has not been your strength this year against one of the strongest running units in the NFL. What did you all do collectively tonight that you're most proud of?
I think we just answered the bell. You know, we knew the game plan was to run the ball from their standpoint. And for our group to have a chance in this game, it's going to take everybody. It's not, you know, the front 7. It's not, you know, one side of the defense. It's got to be 11 guys running to the ball. You know, I thought first half we were kind of warming up to it, but then the second half we really were stout.
Offensively, you guys got cooking. You get a late touchdown, come out of the locker room, get another one, and then before you know it, it's 4 consecutive touchdowns. Aaron Rodgers is, I mean, he's one of the all-time dudes.
Yeah.
He's new here. But what have you seen from him in terms of being a leader and being the guy that is pushing all the buttons on that offensive side?
I think there's a level of accountability he brings to the group. The way he challenges guys, the way he communicates. You know, there's a lot of stuff you see during practice, but then off the field, he's working with guys, making sure they're, you know, it's not just the offensive line, it's the wide receivers, the tight ends. They all play a big role in what he wants to do, and he just keeps talking about it.
Cam, is it because of that stuff we don't see that allows him to be, I mean, he's harsh.
Yeah.
Like, he'll give dudes stink eye. He'll be demonstrative when you're not on point with your assignments. But is it the fact that he is that sort of hands-on throughout that earns him that level of sort of wiggle room when it comes to being a pretty tough taskmaster?
I think that, and then we can hold him accountable too.
How so?
Well, we let him know when he's playing like crap too. So, you know,
good.
I think we all know we all have to play at a different level to, you know, win games in this league. And you know, it starts with myself, it starts with Aaron, it starts with TJ. You know, you go down the list. We all have to be accountable. You know, we're not running from that, and we have a mature group that really talks about that.
Who got that first touchdown?
Lil Bro.
Yeah, you know, we work with a guy named Jason who's got a younger brother named Travis. They're pretty good as well. What's it been like for you to see him grow into this role now where, I mean, when it's a hard yard, he's the guy, and he got one on a 4th down, then he got the touchdown there. What's it like to see him evolve into this role?
I love it. You know, he's excited for those opportunities. He doesn't get a lot of them, but when he gets in there, he's trying to make the most of his opportunities. And in this league, if you have a niche, you're going to be on the roster. And,
hell yeah.
You know, you keep doing that week in and week out, and they can't stop it. We're talking about a lot of touchdowns.
I'm looking around at this, as I was telling you off air. This is one of my favorite places to come. I love what this team represents to the city. There's a level of pride, and I think it's not fair to say it's real. There's been a frustration. We heard it. You heard it the last time you guys walked off this field.
Yeah.
How did that land with you to be booed off the field, to have people chant to fire your coach, who I adore? I mean, how has that fueled you all to see what we've seen these last couple weeks?
I think we have higher expectations of ourselves. You know, we understand the fans want us to do better, but as players, we want to play better. And we never want to hear our coach be on the, you know, the firing block, as you say, but our guys know we got to play better. We take the accountability in knowing that we can keep our coach here.
RC played for him, and he's explained to me that Mike Tomlin's the most consistent man he's ever been around. Like, he doesn't waver. That message isn't theatrics. That's who he is, 24/7, 365. Mm-hmm. What did you see out of him after the Buffalo game in terms of message and leadership that has helped also fuel this sort of momentum that you all have?
I think we attacked it right after the game. The next day, we were in there watching film. We had walkthroughs. We were talking about our mistakes. But he circled the next game on the calendar. You know, he understood that Miami's coming to town, and, you know, we were even talking about Detroit. We got to be on all P's and Q's because, you know, the recipe in December is stopping the run and running the ball. And, you know, it played out today.
Well, this time of year, man, when it gets cold outside, 2 things. If you can run the ball and if you can play defense, you can win football games. Last big sort of overarching thing here. Mm-hmm. You've been here a long time. You've been one of the faces and leaders of this franchise. You know what this is about. This is a place that's not just happy to crash the party. It's about trying to win rings. Feels as wide open as I can ever remember in the AFC. What do you feel like has to happen, Cam, from now until the tournament starts to give you guys a chance to do the thing everyone here wants, which is to go on a run?
I think stopping the run.
That's it?
You stop the run, you make a team one-dimensional, and, we can't run from that. And if we can give our offense more tries at it, I think they're going to put up a lot of points.
It's Cam Hayward with Scott Van Pelt after the Steelers knocked off the Dolphins last night and strengthened their hold on top of the AFC North and are closing in on a division title. And we'll see what they do in the playoffs with Aaron Rodgers. But they kind of sold their soul to Rodgers this year. And last night he gave them what they wanted. He was tremendous. Only 4 incompletions on their way to 4 touchdowns and the win last night over the Dolphins. All right, back to the decision to shut Jayden Daniels down for the rest of the year. Somewhat of a surprise coming yesterday from Dan Quinn after only a couple of weeks ago. He said he could have gone back in against Minnesota. Then they don't clear him to play against the Giants last week, and it looked like he was going to get some action over the last 3. It seemed that was the way that Quinn was leaning. And by winning last week, they didn't keep any playoff hopes alive, but there's a better feeling coming out of that. And, it seemed to make sense that a quarterback who's only played in 7 games this year and left the last 4 with injuries, that he would benefit from playing. But Quinn said it was partly medical, but I think this was the most telling question of the news conference yesterday, asked by Scott Abraham of Channel 7.
You guys were 10-4 and not 4-10. Would the situation be different? Would he be playing these final games?
Yeah, we're not, so we didn't have that, discussion.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they did, because if he was going to be cleared to play in the game that he got knocked out of, how is it that 2 weeks later he's out for the season? It's I'm sure tied to record. And I'll tell you one thing. Dan Quinn couldn't go into the locker room and say to his team, as fine as Marcus Mariota has played, he hasn't been the reason that this team is 4-10 right now. He's played reasonably well. He makes some stupid moves, like fumbling the ball late in that game on Sunday, but they won the game. He played well enough to win the game. You can't go into your locker room with a team that's 10-4, gunning for the playoffs, and say, by the way, our franchise quarterback, yeah, he's not completely healthy, could play. I know other quarterbacks have played with that injury, but we're going to sit him down. Yeah, so that it was an organizational decision, seems to be, because Dan Quinn, his job is to win games, and Jayden Daniels' job is to play football. And right now, the team's best chance to win games right on number 5. Number 8's pretty good, but number 5 gives you a better chance to win. He's not playing. More from Quinn yesterday, and this was on the decision that was made, and that a few weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, that they wanted to play him down the stretch to see what they had.
That was the plan for sure with 5 games, and like in football and life, you adjust, and this is the best plan for him and for the team right now. And so that's what, we're always going to look into it and have lots of discussions about it. But we decided this was the best way for us over the next 3 games, knowing that he wasn't fully cleared to get back just yet.
And then if you can sum up like his season, and also like how much does it weigh in there that he had left each of the last 3 games he played with some sort of injury? Does that factor into it? And, all that. Yeah,
we discussed all that, but that didn't factor it into it, John. One didn't relate to the other, and so it was disappointing. And hey, let's be honest, it's been hard, in a lot of ways. So we're just trying to make the best decisions we can, but it wasn't, a factor from previous. It was just a matter of, hey, not clear to do it, and we're gonna make the best decisions for the team and for him. That's a number 1.
Now, Quinn did say that Daniel's going to practice. He's not been cleared for contact yet, but he's going to be the part of the process to get ready for games. He's just not going to play in games. And as the one thing, and this makes total sense, the one thing that they really need him to work on going into next season is staying safe.
Find those specific things for him, and it's mostly on dropbacks, honestly, DA, to say, when do I remain a passer, when do I eyes downfield, and so not having to do those in the game reps, isn't ideal, but we're going to try to find the best way possible. And I'm hopeful that in a year from now, when you say, what'd you learn, when you're talking to Jayden, and maybe this vantage point even over a couple of weeks when he's, disappointed he's not playing and wanting to be, that we gain some experience and maybe a vision that you wouldn't have normally had, DA. And that's what I'm hopeful that will get done. And then as it gets into the off season and the training, obviously that's going to be a big part of what we're doing, knowing how important he is. And so he knows that. He's not happy that, he's going to be out, but that's where we're at, as we're going through it right now. But there's a lot to still learn, and we're going to push that hard.
Yeah. Protect yourself. Live to play another play. That's the big thing on that. He mentioned that Daniels isn't happy about it. Here's more from Quinn on the reaction.
I would say disappointed but understood as well. This guy's a competitor, JP. That's what always stands out about him. I think the fact that wanted no part of IR to practice, be there with the guys doing that, I think that speaks of the teammate and why. And so that was important to him, to show that support and wanting to do it as well. So that told us a lot, also about it, because it would have been the easy way to say whatever, and that's not how he is at all. So I like the fact that he's competitive. I like the fact that he wants this time, and so that's an important piece to it.
And how difficult has balancing all of this, Jayden's desire and toughness, the big picture, kind of a lost season, how difficult has all of those factors been in landing in these decisions?
Yeah, it's hard. It's nice to have a partner with Adam to talk through, because there's a lot that, just consumes your mind day and night, and the topics and what's gone well, what hasn't gone well. And so you just try to talk it through, man. And so having somebody to discuss with, go through options with, and then ultimately make the best decisions for the team. They're hard, but it's, like I said, much better to have somebody to talk it through with, JP, and talk about the pros and the cons. And we thought we had a good plan, for the next 5, and just, what the saying go, man plans and God laughs. It was you adjust, and that's what you do. And so that's in a game. That's in when injuries take place, and so. You go a good plan, and then you have a way to adjust it.
So that's the Dan Quinn news conference yesterday. I guess we'll hear from players today. I don't know if Daniels will be available, but they are practicing today because the game is on Saturday. So what would normally be a Wednesday schedule now gets moved to Tuesday, and so forth down the line. Just to put a bow on this, a couple of things from Tom Lavero's column about it today. And he talked about what they did in the offseason, like adding Laramie Tunsil. They draft Josh Connerly with the first pick. It's all about protecting Jayden Daniels, giving him more weapons like Deebo Samuel, and things just didn't work out. Terry McLaurin hurt in and out of the lineup. Austin Eckler lost in the second game of the season for the year with a torn Achilles. They gambled on Noah Brown again. He's missed most of the season. Christian McCaffrey broke his collarbone and then lost to Seattle. So he's lost a lot of weapons along the way, and then he himself has had all these different injuries. And Tom goes back to the preseason game against Cincinnati, the one game that Daniels actually played in, and he said it may have been a warning of what was to come. He said in that meaningless game, Daniels pulled the ball down for a 14-yard touchdown run, breaking tackles along the way instead of sliding. When asked about it after the game, Daniels answered, "I'm playing football. I'm out there at the end of the day. It's a game to me, whether preseason, regular season, or playoffs. I had the opportunity to score. Other people probably didn't like it, but hey, it is what it is." He didn't return to the game. When asked if anyone said anything to him about not sliding, Daniels answered, "They took me out after that." So, asked after the game about Daniels' failure to slide, Dan Quinn answered, "You think those conversations haven't been told? It's part of the game, and it's part of what makes him a special player." And as Tom writes, now he's a spectator. So, a disappointing end to the season, disappointing end to Jayden Daniels' second year, and you just hope that you chalk this up to one of those years and he comes back with a healthy season next year. Coming up, a very shrewd move by Phillip Rivers, not just playing, but for what he did for his family on Sunday. We'll get to that and more as we continue. It's the Andy Pollin Show, ESPN 630.
The Andy Pollin Show on ESPN 630, the sports capital.
So about 7 or 8 years ago, there was a sighting of a very, very tall crossing guard in Northwest D.C. And people who know basketball knew who that was. His name is Adrian Dantley. Adrian Dantley is one of the greatest basketball players to come out of this area. High school All-American at DeMatha, had a great career at Notre Dame, won a gold medal for the U.S. Olympic team in 1976, and had an incredible NBA career. I think it went at least 15 years. He's in the Basketball Hall of Fame. Didn't win a championship, but was a great, great player. One of the great, players under 7 feet tall who could get to the basket. He was great at that, and became an assistant coach for a short period of time, and then stayed at home with his family. I think he had a son who played some high school basketball. I don't know whether they went beyond that, but he was a dad, and he needed to have health insurance for his family. He made money in the NBA, not the kind of money they make today, but if he carefully saved it, I'm sure he had money. But he always seemed to be so on top of finance. I used to see him at my gym. Okay, I paid $25 a month for my gym, and Adrian Dantley was there working out. So he was doing something that I guess he enjoyed, being a crossing guard. But as he told people, he did a couple of interviews for I guess a paper or television. He said that he was getting health insurance for his family, and that was obviously important. I don't know how many kids he has, but that was a benefit for going out there twice a day and helping the kids cross the street. Shrewd, smart move. So turns out, I wasn't aware of this because all the talk about Phillip Rivers coming back, well, beyond his age and the fact that he hadn't played in 5 years, was he was a semifinalist for the Hall of Fame. And by playing Sunday, as he did, he has reset the clock on Hall of Fame eligibility. The next time now he's going to be eligible is in 2031. He originally retired, although he didn't officially announce his retirement until he did it with the Chargers this past summer. But the last time he played in the NFL was January of 2021 when they lost a playoff game playing for the Colts to the Bills. So by coming back to play, he resets that on eligibility. That's a very small part of this. This is so smart. And I don't think it's the reason he agreed to come back, but this is such a great side benefit. As part of the benefits collectively bargained for with the NFL and the Players Association, players who are vested by spending 3 years on a roster, doesn't have to be, I guess, the same roster. If you're in the NFL for 3 years, you can receive 5 years of free health and dental insurance for 2 adults and 3 or more children after retirement. So by leaving the NFL almost 5 years ago, January of 2021, he was able to have full benefits for himself, his wife, and their 10 children, 10 kids. And under the Affordable Care Act, even his oldest at 23 was still on the plan. So you think of the cost of that if you do it, independently. I've been fortunate to be a part of a union, so I get very inexpensive health benefits. But you think of the amount of money that he's saving now, and just by playing that one game, by resetting the clock. So for the next 5 years, for all of his kids, I guess the oldest will age out in 3 years, but for the next 5 years, he's going to have health insurance and dental. Dental's expensive. If you're buying supplemental dental, that could be like $200 a month per person. So he gets all of that by playing in the NFL. Brilliant. Adrian Dantley, brilliant. No question about it. Venus Williams, I think only half joking about this. She has come back at the age of 45 and said she came back in part for health benefits. I had come back for the insurance. Rivers has made $244 million in his playing career. I guess he's on the veteran minimum now. This wasn't, about the money coming back. So he's going to make whatever it is, the 4 games prorated off million plus, whatever it is for a veteran minimum. I mean, that is just so smart and something that was not talked about. Hats off to front office sports for digging that up. Well done by Phillip Rivers. And well done on the field, much to the surprise of the Ulta Cockers that I watch every day as I eat dinner. Pardon the interruption. Tony Kornheiser, 77. Mike Wilbon, 67. Marveling at what they saw from 44-year-old Phillip Rivers.
You got such a soft spot for the elderly.
Because I'm elderly.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
So you were going crazy over this game yesterday.
Yes.
What did you see watching Rivers play?
Can I use the word amazing? Can I say it was amazing?
You want to go that far?
I'm going to tell you why. Because I thought he'd get carted out. I did. And you did too.
I did.
Thought he'd get carted out.
I did.
And he did not.
No.
I saw him early in the game take a knee, and then nobody touched him, so he went 3 more yards.
Like he didn't know where his knee was going to land.
Another knee at that point. Look, he delivered the ball quickly. He delivered the ball accurately.
He better.
I got to the point where in the second half I didn't watch with my hands over my eyes because I thought he was going to be all right. His stats are okay. They're not great. 18 to 27 is good, but only 120 yards, 1 touchdown, a pick on the last thing when he was just throwing the ball in the air. But he had them in a position to win.
He did. That's the most impressive thing.
I have to say, it could have been so much worse than it was, and I was amazed by it.
I'm going to be the other candidate on this one. He had control of the pocket. That's what I expect from Phillip Rivers. Like, if you're going to come back at 107 years old.
5 years.
Okay, but the one
thing. Grandfather.
He's not going to sprint out
to
the right.
No.
Okay?
Can't.
Looking like Josh Allen. He's not going to do that. So he's got to have control of the pocket. He did. He's got to have command. He did.
Why didn't they rush him? Why didn't they bring the house? Why didn't they do that? Why didn't Seattle do that?
Maybe they went all week and they didn't even think he was going to actually start and play that much of the game. They were wrong. He did. So I give him kudos. But after I gave him kudos in live time, I said to you in live time, okay, I've had enough now. I've had enough Phillip Rivers.
I know.
I'm impressed that he's, by the way, it takes courage to step in and do what he is doing.
Do you know that he's going to start next week against the 49ers? He's going to start.
49ers might be a little less merciful. It might be.
Might be.
But all I'm saying is, enough. We've done Phillip Rivers now. Is the novelty's worn off. So let's not get crazy.
I understand why you feel the way you do. And I understand that they are probably not a contending team for the playoffs anymore. They might be. But it feels, in your mind, this is a past story. And in my mind, they have 3 tough games. They have San Francisco, they have Jacksonville, they have Houston. They may not win any of them. But whatever chance they have is because of Phillip Rivers, a 44-year-old grandfather. And so I'm
not that guy.
I'm so impressed by it.
Back with 28 on his jersey.
It's because you're young.
Because
you're young.
Because I'm 23 years older than Phillip Rivers.
Relatively speaking to me, you're young.
Yeah, that's a Wilbon reference to Darrell Green, who was playing cornerback in the NFL in his 20th year at the age of 42. Yeah, that's pretty amazing, too. But he didn't leave the game. It's not like Darrell sat out for 5 years and came back at 42 to play corner. This is a quarterback who left the league at an advanced age. He had a 17-year career, late 30s. 39, right? He's 44 now. And he comes back at 44 and plays well enough to take the game down to the final minute. They lost on a long 56-yard field goal in that game. But I think something else to think about here as they play the 49ers, which is going to be a big boon for ABC, ESPN. That's a Monday night game, and you don't think they're going to hype the hell out of that? And it's already been announced, in case there was any doubt whether Rivers was going to start. 49ers have tape to work off of. And that's a big deal in the NFL. You and I, looking at tape, you think you know what's going on. NFL people know what's going on. They find little things. And one thing that helps Rivers, and it's always helped him because he's never really been able to run. It's not like, he was Roger Staubach and he comes back as a statue. No, he's a guy who relied on a quick release. He's more of a Peyton Manning type of quarterback. And that's what helped him stay upright. He was able to get rid of the ball quickly in Seattle. Now that he goes to San Francisco and they have this game tape to look at, they will pick it apart and they will find little things that are still out there that haven't been uncovered in the 5 years that he was out of the game. Because, look, when Seattle's getting ready for the game, they don't even find out until Wednesday that he's playing. So, okay, they go back on his old tape. But that's Phillip Rivers in his 30s. Now it's Phillip Rivers in his 40s. They don't know what they're necessarily looking at. Now they got a full game of Phillip Rivers in his 40s and playing well enough to keep him in the game, not winning. And they will find things that they can disturb him with, for sure. Can he overcome them? Yeah, he's a veteran guy. And I think it's a great story. And I think most people felt like Tony did. Oh, my God, hide your eyes. This guy's going to get killed. NFL guys said that. But he surprised a lot of people. He got really emotional about it, too, talking about how his players, because he's been coaching high school football, his son's the quarterback, and how they saw the old man not be afraid. And that's it. If he goes back to it, and that's likely what's going to happen, I can't imagine that he'll come back next year at the age of 45 and try and play, though Tom Brady did. But I don't see that happening. This was an emergency situation because Daniel Jones tore his Achilles, and he came back to help out his old team. But I could see that he'll go back to his high school team and say, okay, anybody complaining? I'm 44. I went out there and faced the toughest competition in the world, and I held my own. Anybody else scared to get out there? You know what it's like to see a 285-pound linebacker with 4.8 speed chasing me down? Anybody want to see that? No, you're not going to see that at the high school level. So buck up, young men. Buck up. All right. Get to Damien Woody. Damien Woody, analyst with ESPN on our morning show yesterday on Sportsmanlike, taking a look at both the AFC and the NFC. And it was the AFC first, now with the news that Patrick Mahomes is going to miss the rest of the year. He's already had, from what I understand, he quickly had the ACL surgery. The quicker you have it, the quicker you start the rehab. And the goal is obviously to get back for the opener next season. Damien Woody now looking at a Chiefs-less and a Mahomes-less AFC, which is, as he says, there for the taking for Josh Allen.
If not now, then when? If not now, then when for Buffalo? Literally, everything has been cleared. We talk about the big four in the AFC. Mm-hmm. Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, and Josh Allen. Mm-hmm. Well, guess what? Three of them, more than likely, won't even be in the postseason. Yep. You're by far the best quarterback in the AFC that's going to enter the postseason. So if you're Buffalo, I totally agree with Evan. There is no excuse. Mm. You got to go get it done. If you don't go get it done this year, I don't know when it's going to happen.
I agree with you agreeing with me. Now that finish this sentence for us. The Kansas City Chiefs right now are?
They're done. Listen, they're done. I just wanted to
they're done for now or done dynastically, like that's over for good. How do you look at that?
They're done for now. Remember, New England had two separate dynasties. I mean, they went 10 years during that 20-year span, whatever it was, they went 10 years without going to a Super Bowl again. Then they kind of did another dynasty. Mm-hmm. And so we're talking, listen, the great Patrick Mahomes is far from done, obviously. We're going to get more information about it. I know he tore his ACL, but the extent of, the damage, maybe it's more than that. But listen, I think for Kansas City, it's time to retool. This is a perfect time for them to retool as an organization, because what happens sometimes is, you miss a playoff. Oh, we just need a piece here, piece there. No. Kansas City is further away from a piece here, piece there. Some of these guys that have been core contributors to their dynasty, they're old in the tooth. Some of them need to retire, move on, but they need a serious retooling of their roster in order to kind of maybe shepherd along the second act of Patrick Mahomes when he comes back.
Yeah, they had this in New England. They went 9 years without Tom Brady winning a Super Bowl, and then he won 4 more. So that could happen. And in a different era, we had it here. Didn't have the salary cap then, but you may remember that the Redskins under Joe Gibbs in his second and third year went to Super Bowls. They won one, beat Miami, and then lost to the Raiders. And then didn't win another Super Bowl for, 4 seasons? They didn't win in 84, 85, and 86, and then they won again in 87. And then they went to 2 more years, didn't win another one till 91. And here's how crazy, you can look this up. There were rumors that Jack Kane Cook was getting impatient and was thinking about getting rid of Joe Gibbs. So organizations retool. I don't think it's going to happen long-term with Andy Reid. I think Andy Reid is going to stay another year and they transition to somebody else. But there will be another run by Patrick Mahomes. I can almost guarantee that. He's right now the best player in the league, probably will remain the best player in the league for quite a while. Quarterbacks play a long time now. He's, 30, 31? I don't even know if he's that. And there will be a resurgence, but it's going to take a couple of years, at least a couple of years, to rebuild the team. Don't think you can patch. Get things done in the draft and free agency. Go young and rebuild for another run with a great quarterback. One more from Damian Woody. That's about the NFC and where he sees Los Angeles as the best team.
The Rams, to me, are the clear team in the NFC, in my opinion. Like Stafford is balling, the defense, and remember they were going against the top scoring team in the league in the Detroit Lions yesterday. You can't expect the defense to hold that offense down. Like they could have hung 50 on the Lions yesterday if they wanted to. 50. So give me the Rams.
So we asked you about Philly. What about the Bears? They get back in the win column yesterday versus the Browns. Do you view them as a legit contender based on what you've seen so far this season, or do you think maybe they're a year too early?
They're probably a year early. I was impressed with the Bears' offense. I mean, they laid waste to the Browns' defense yesterday. They laid waste to the Browns' defense. They ran the ball. I thought Caleb played well. The play action game was fantastic. So, again, another well-coached team. They create turnovers. They're not a great defense, but they create turnovers. And so the Bears, listen, they got a big one on Saturday against the Green Bay Packers, I believe. Is it the Green Bay Packers?
Yep.
Yeah. They got a big one against the Green Bay Packers. You win that, that's for the division. You win that game, you win the North. So it's all there for the Chicago Bears right now.
That's Damian Woody yesterday on Unsportsmanlike, and it was 40 years ago that the Bears played the Rams for the NFC Championship, and it was a crushing win. That Bears defense, the best of all time. You just heard Damian Woody say this Bears defense isn't that great, but it creates turnovers. That Bears defense beat you before you stepped on the field. And I'll give you one. This is so bizarre to think about. But the quarterback for the Rams, the day they lost to the Bears, and I forget what the score was, might have even been a shutout because that's how good the Bears defense was Dieter Brock. Dieter Brock had played okay in Canada. The Rams were just so desperate for a quarterback, they signed him. And Dieter Brock against that Bears defense, oy gewalt. So 40 years later, we could see that. A lot has to happen between now and then. And what is this, the middle of December? So, we're basically talking about a month from now. But, 5 weeks from now, really, that we will see something like that happen. But it's something to think about. That just thinking about how great that Bears defense was and how overmatched Dieter Brock and the Rams were. That won't be the case this year, assuming Matt Stafford stays healthy, and I hope he does. But that would be kind of cool. And I would think if he played in Los Angeles, a big difference between walking into Soldier Field in that chill and getting smacked in the mouth as the Bears used to do back in those days. Kind of cool to think about. Bram is coming up next. I'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.